The television screen flickered. Images of burning buildings and strange silver crafts filled the screen. Jeremy stared, his heart pounding in his chest. This couldn't be real. The news anchor, her face pale, spoke in urgent tones. The invasion began just hours ago. Major cities across the globe are under attack. These creatures appear to possess advanced technology. The feed cut to a shaky image of a large metallic being. Its eyes glowed an eerie blue. Jeremy's breath caught in his throat. He was home alone, his parents stuck at work. They'd promised to be back soon, but now, fear clawed at him. He felt small, insignificant. The news anchor continued, her voice strained. "We urge everyone to stay calm and await further instructions." Determination surged within him. He wouldn't just sit here and wait, he had to do something. The house creaked, an old familiar sound that usually brought comfort. Not tonight. Tonight, every creak, every groan sounded ominous. Jeremy's grip tightened on the TV remote, his knuckles turning white. The news offered no comfort, only a constant stream of chaos and destruction. He thought about calling his parents, but what good would it do? They were probably stuck in traffic. He was on his own. The silence of the house pressed in on him, thick and heavy. He imagined the aliens, those metallic figures with glowing eyes lurking outside his window. His heart raced. He wished his dog Sparky hadn't run off earlier that day, but Sparky was gone, and Jeremy was alone. A high-pitched whine pierced the air, cutting through the news report. Jeremy's head snapped up, his eyes darting towards the window. There it was again, a strange, pulsing sound. It sent chills down his spine. His breath hitched as a shadow flickered past the window, long and thin. He froze, his body tense. His mind raced, trying to rationalize what he'd seen. Maybe it was just a bird? But the shadow had been too big, too defined. Then, the unthinkable happened. The window shattered inwards, shards of glass exploding across the living room floor. Jeremy cried out, scrambling back on the couch. Standing in the wreckage of the window was a figure, tall, metallic, with glowing blue eyes. An alien. Fear, raw and consuming, washed over Jeremy. His mind screamed at him to run, to hide, but his body refused to obey. He was rooted to the spot, paralyzed by terror. The alien moved with an unnerving fluidity, its metallic body gliding across the broken glass. Jeremy's eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape, a weapon, anything. But there was nothing. He was trapped. A strange buzzing sound emanated from the alien, low and guttural. It took another step closer, its long, slender fingers twitching. Jeremy's mind finally snapped out of its frozen terror. He couldn't just stand there and be captured, or worse. Adrenaline surged through his veins, banishing the fear. He had to fight back. His eyes fell on the heavy antique lamp standing next to the couch. He lunged for it, his fingers closing around the cold metal base. The lamp was heavier than Jeremy had anticipated, but he hoisted it with all his might. He swung it towards the alien, his heart pounding in his ears. To his surprise, the alien didn't move to dodge the blow. It just stood there, its blue eyes fixed on Jeremy. The lamp connected with a sickening thud against the alien's head. The force of the blow sent a jolt up Jeremy's arm, and he stumbled back, dropping the lamp to the floor with a clang. He stared at the alien, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Had that actually worked? The alien swayed slightly, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. Then, it froze completely. Its blue eyes, once filled with an unnerving intelligence, went dark. The buzzing sound ceased, leaving a ringing silence in its wake. Jeremy stared at the motionless alien, his mind struggling to comprehend what had just happened. He had actually hit it. And had it worked? Jeremy stared at the frozen alien. It was hard to believe that just moments ago, this creature had been a terrifying invader from another world. Now, it stood motionless, its metallic skin cold and lifeless under his touch. The initial rush of victory gave way to a wave of confusion. What had happened? Why hadn't the alien tried to defend itself? And what did it mean that it was frozen like this? Was it dead? Or was this some kind of alien trick? He cautiously circled the frozen figure, his eyes scanning for any sign of life. But the alien remained still, its once threatening form now strangely inert. He noticed a faint humming coming from the alien's chest, a low, rhythmic pulse that vibrated slightly under his hand. So it wasn't dead, but it wasn't exactly alive either. It was frozen, suspended in some kind of stasis. Jeremy spent the next few hours trying to make sense of the situation. He researched everything he could find about aliens, but nothing in his comic books or online forums prepared him for a frozen alien invader standing in his living room. He considered calling the authorities, but what would he tell them? "Hello, 911? I have a frozen alien in my living room. Can you send someone to pick it up?" They'd probably think he was crazy. So, Jeremy did what any resourceful kid would do in his situation. He hid the alien in his dad's tool shed. He draped an old tarp over it, hoping it would be enough to conceal the strange metallic figure until he could figure out what to do. As he worked, a plan began to form in his mind. A plan that was equal parts crazy and brilliant. He had a frozen alien, a wealth of information at his fingertips thanks to the internet, and a burning desire to protect his family, his friends, and his planet. It was time to fight back. Jeremy sat at his desk, the glow of his computer screen illuminating his determined face. He had spent the entire night researching, reading everything he could find about alien technology, energy weapons, and anything that might offer a clue about how to defeat the invaders. He learned about electromagnetic pulses, sonic weapons, and even some far-fetched theories about telepathic warfare. He knew he couldn't build a death ray or a teleportation device, but he needed to find a way to use the alien's technology against it. His eyes fell on the photo he had managed to snap of the alien before hiding it in the shed. He zoomed in on the alien's chest, focusing on the area where he had felt the faint humming. There, barely visible beneath the alien's metallic skin, was a series of intricate symbols. He recognized them from his research. If he could decipher the symbols, maybe, just maybe, he could find a way to turn the alien's own technology against it. He had a plan. The tool shed became Jeremy's secret lab. Armed with his dad's toolbox, a stack of old electronics, and an unwavering determination, Jeremy set to work. He carefully examined the alien's chest plate, meticulously sketching the intricate symbols, trying to understand their purpose. He spent days tinkering, experimenting, and researching. He taught himself basic circuitry, learned how to solder, and even managed to rewire an old radio transmitter. He knew the risks, but he was driven by a force greater than fear. He was fighting for his future. He theorized that if he could generate a specific electromagnetic frequency, he might be able to disrupt the alien systems, possibly even reverse the freezing effect. Days turned into weeks, and slowly but surely, Jeremy's plan began to take shape. It wasn't pretty, but it was his best hope. The day arrived. Jeremy, armed with his makeshift device, stood before the frozen alien. He took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest. This was the moment of truth. He activated his device, and a low hum filled the air. The alien's chest plate began to glow, the symbols pulsing with an eerie light. Jeremy held his breath, his eyes fixed on the frozen figure. The glow intensified, bathing the shed in an otherworldly light. Then, with a gasp, the alien drew a sharp breath, its blue eyes snapping open. It looked around, disoriented, its gaze finally landing on Jeremy. Jeremy stood his ground, his finger on the trigger of his device. "Don't move," he said, his voice surprisingly steady. The alien stared at him, then at the strange device in his hand. It seemed to recognize its own technology, its eyes widening in surprise. Jeremy had done it. He had turned the tables. He had become the hunter and the alien, the prey. The battle for Earth was far from over, but in that tool shed, a young boy had struck a blow for humanity. He was Jeremy, the hero.